Well, hello everyone. It is Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific. And what does that mean? It means it's time for another Win by Noon weekly mastermind. As you know, I'm Todd Bookspan, the host of Win by Noon, and I'm always excited to see you all here for really kind of a short walk into something exciting. And pleased to be joined by my co-host, none other than Deborah Bird from Plug and Play SM. What's up, Deborah?
Hello, you guys are all fortunate because today I actually took the day off. So excuse the, casual attire, but anytime I can jump on these calls and add value is always, it's my big why. So thank you for having me on, and I'm pumped to share some key nuggets from an incredible marketing and sales event for mortgage and real estate professionals.
All right, so let's just real quick talk about that, and then I noticed we've got another person that's joined us here in the inside of Zoom, so she'll be my co-host. But before I bring her on, real quick, for those who don't know, because I saw on Facebook and Instagram that all the cool kids were at this conference in Vegas. So real quick, what was the conference you were at, and what were you supposed to be learning? Which obviously is what you're going to tell us about in a minute.
So it was the Ford event from Neil. I can't pronounce his last name correctly. It's like Dehing or Dehin. Shivani's brother. And what was really fascinating to see is that it was Arjun, which is the other brother, Neil, and Shivani, which Shivani's been this upcoming rising star on the Mortgage Coach channel who has a huge crush on Denise. And they had a little bit of a magical moment there in the audience. But it was a marketing and sales event with speakers that were outside of the mortgage industry. So it was just fresh perspectives and new faces and everything geared towards how to help create a better life. I don't want to say balance, but let's say quality of life through just leverage and thinking bigger and thinking more strategic with some incredible, Gary Vee was there. Of course, Bradley, who's my in fact, I did even tell Bradley this. He's my husband in the making. He just doesn't know it yet. Renee was there. Ed Milet. Some great speakers.
It looked like great content. And so, of course, I asked your sister, what her big takeaway was. And then it sounded like our other co-host, Michelle Castle. So I'll introduce Michelle real quick. For those who don't know Michelle, Michelle is someone that I view as just a great leader. Michelle is from Texas. She works with Guild Mortgage there and runs a great team. But I think more importantly, she's just someone who's really gives back and does a lot for the industry. And so when I said, hey, let's talk about the event, what your takeaways were, you said, hey, Michelle had some questions too. So let's put her on the spot. So welcome, Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Deborah's good at putting people on the spot. Even like telling them they're going to be her husband one day.
Well,
I literally introduced myself that way.
I really hope that works out for you.
I walked up and I was like, so you don't know this yet, Brad, but if God forbid something ever happens, I know you're married. So, not trying to put that in the universe, but I will be your future wife one day. And so I just thought I should introduce myself because I have visioned it and I've applied because I follow him and I know all of his, forgive yourself and then, take action, vision, be bold enough to interrupt people. So I interrupted the conversation. I was like, you need to meet me because this will happen. So start working out. No, I'm just kidding. Even more. Anyways, but yes, Michelle had texted me and she was like, hey, I'd love to hear some key takeaways. And, this was kind of an event that I think snuck up on people. Mm-hmm. I think, it was in the summer, it was Vegas again. And for some of us who had gone to the Amplify Live, that was just, here recently in Vegas as well, along with not really maybe knowing too much about Neil or the Ford Academy. And so with the headlines, and of course it's marketing, that could have been another, component is it was more geared for marketing and sales. That it wasn't just for mortgage and real estate. There were some financial advisors there as well. Some insurance people. Kevin, is it Dulce, who's with Comma Insurance?
Kevin Dulce with Comma Insurance. Yep.
Yes, that's it. And so just, all different types of leadership. We had some VPs. So it was a 1-day event and, it was Friday. It was all day. And the speaker lineup was just some names I'd never heard of. So if you want, I can just dive in because I know we've got kind of a hard stop.
Let's let Michelle ask the first question.
Okay.
Why don't you just ask the first question, Michelle, and then you can kind of fill in as we go. How about that, Deborah?
Okay, got it.
You know what? I was just wondering, is there something new and different that others are doing that hasn't been that you're not seeing us do right now. I mean, like, I know buyer psychology is changing right now. How
Mhm.
people are making decisions has changed a lot in the last couple of years. So it seemed, I mean, I know our conversations need to change too. And that's what I was curious about. You know, what's the talk about buyer psych right now, and how we need to be communicating with them?
So that's a great question. And I'll tell you, Gary Vee said, and I trust a lot of
Hmm.
what he shares. I wish he would have gone a little bit deeper of why he thinks this, but he said the three main platforms if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer that you need to be communicating on right now. And he said every day is Facebook fan pages, which is just a business page. They used to be called fan pages. So
Okay.
it's still just a Facebook business page, which I was really surprised about.
Yeah.
Now he said when you use it, you need to use it more towards an angle of building a community. And that's where he's like, y'all say you're trying to build a community, but you're not really, you just want people to buy your stuff. So he was very blunt and direct at give, give, give. And if you've read the book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, he's like, some of y'all, I see your stuff online and you guys are mixing the jab and the right hooks together when they shouldn't be together. Like if you're doing a reel, give education, spread financial literacy, but too many are creating that call to action where it just feels like it's a take, and not truly a give, give, give. So he said Facebook fan pages, YouTube shorts.
Mm.
He said he ranked YouTube shorts over Instagram reels right now because of looking at supply and demand. So to put it in our terms, he's like, everyone is saying, including myself, Instagram reels, but no one's taking those reels and also putting them on YouTube shorts. So if you have a scheduling tool, I have a scheduling tool for my clients that we can now schedule out Instagram reels. Well, it'll also sync and go to YouTube shorts. But if you're a real estate agent or loan officer and you're not on YouTube, he's like, that is mistake number one because Google owns it. So for
Mhm.
SEO search and for those purposes, repurpose all the reels or TikToks that you're doing and make sure it's also on YouTube. And then the third one he said is TikTok. So if he had to focus on three communication areas for today's buyers, which looking at the statistics, it's the largest demographic are the millennials, the second largest is baby boomers. So, how you communicate with millennials and the mediums that you use are going to be a little bit different than baby boomers, but he said Facebook is still number one. So anytime you run ads or look at boosting or looking at your traffic, he's like, at the end of the day, Facebook is still the largest owned social media platform where the most eyeballs are. And then he also said, but at the end of the day, you need to post everywhere every day, and you should be posting 12 to 15 pieces of content a day. Now,
Wow.
my only concern with that was you've got to have a strategy, otherwise you just become noise and people will tune you off. It's like a channel that they don't want to listen to because it's just a lot of yapping without any value. So to me, that's a lot of content. However, if you're making at least 4 to 5 story posts a day, so that counts as 4 to 5, you're doing at least one reel a day, which again, a reel can always be shared to YouTube shorts or TikTok, but that's your 6 posts. And you're doing maybe a regular post each day. You would have to double almost
Mm,
that amount. That's a lot.
that's a lot.
And the algorithms can penalize you if you're creating all this content that nobody's watching either. So, but that gives you some areas of focus that he said is the most underpriced attention at the moment for those demographics of where we should all focus our time. And then when he talked about the supply and demand with Instagram's supply right now is, the demand is not there due to the supply with Instagram Reels, in his opinion. So there's a lot of people on there posting when he thinks you should, it still needs to be part of your platforms, because there was a time last week where for a couple hours Facebook and Instagram they were down, and he's like, what would happen if Facebook shut down when Facebook owns Instagram? Which is why he says you really need to be on all platforms every day. Don't worry about people seeing
Same
your
thing.
content,
Mhm.
but
So Do you
Go
think that the Instagram reels then, I mean, so I see so many people doing TikToks and then just, putting them on both channels. So there's probably been an increase in reels because of TikTok.
There's also, it's just the mindset that people still need to remember is, when people go to YouTube, your motive is different. You're going to YouTube, maybe it's on a Google, it
To
starts with a
learn
Google
something.
search. Yes, versus TikTok and Instagram is still an escape activity where people want to be a little more entertained. The social search is starting to increase more so on TikTok, where you may not see someone type in how to qualify for a home. Like that's still going to be more so in Google or YouTube. But we're starting to see more and more people looking for quick, short, bite-sized pieces of content. I don't know if you guys have even seen the advertisements lately that says TikTok taught me. Have y'all seen those funny ads where it's like showing these different hacks of someone with like at the airport, that the little pillow guy that you wear this way,
Oh,
they're
I've
like,
seen
oh,
that.
TikTok.
I saw that. Yeah,
So
commercial.
there's TikTok is trying to compete with YouTube. They want to eventually become more SEO rich key term search for quick learning how to
Yeah.
nuggets.
Okay.
So just keep in mind, that's where TikTok sees YouTube as their competitor. Instagram and Facebook are competing with TikTok. They're trying to catch up. But for Facebook has always been more known as the distributor social media platform, like they distribute content. TikTok was more creator based. So does that help answer
That
your first
helps, but
question?
can you define for me what is a YouTube short? Is it literally just a short video I put onto my YouTube channel? Does it show differently in YouTube? Is there like I know Reels are
Yes.
favored right now by Instagram, so they show differently. So if I take a snippet from this, that's 2 minutes where you sound brilliant and we put that out there, is that going to be viewed more, or how does it impact us?
Yes. You have shorts now because we've posted some of them, Todd, but it's the same way. When you go to YouTube, you could click
Well, thank
this
you for posting
plus.
those for me, making me look like I'm doing my job.
But as we've been getting smaller bite-sized pieces of content, anything that we're posting as a reel to Instagram or Facebook, it's now automatically going on your YouTube Shorts page too. But that's, most people didn't know what this plus button at the very bottom of YouTube, or when you go to Shorts, it's, oh, sorry. Depending on if you're looking from your phone or from, a desktop, you'll see where the shorts are. And it's very similar to just TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Okay, I see that.
It was
Yeah.
so nice of you not to say that it's taken a while for there to be anything intelligent. I said that in a short clip that you guys could post. I know you've been coaching me on how to be more sound much smarter as we go forward. So I appreciate that.
Well, and I will say for Instagram Reels and TikTok, and even for the shorts, it's the most backwards design of any type of communication you'd ever have with a human being. If you could picture, in fact, I should make this a meme in some way. If you met someone at a party and someone literally comes up, they immediately tell you exactly what they want to tell you. And it's almost like they walk away before you can even ask a question or really end that piece. You're constantly enticing people to come back for more, where you don't want to overshare or overinform, which is why it's got to be short, bite-sized pieces that almost leaves people hanging, and maybe redirecting them. Yeah, to then the longer tail piece of content that may be housed in your YouTube channel. So it's meant to just entice them enough, short to the point. The hook is obviously still the most important part to get them to watch, but then it's like, where are you redirecting them? Because remember, on your Instagram feed and even TikTok, a post you make can get lost in a feed. And too many times people think, oh, I already posted that last month. It's like, repost it. Some of that can be evergreen content. If it performed well, maybe you tweak the hook just a little bit, change the cover page a bit, and keep using it, because most people don't see your content, especially as it goes towards the bottom, except for YouTube. YouTube is the beast where the more it lives there, just like when we talk about, Todd, I know sometimes when we rank the YouTube shows that are most seen or most viewed, it's like, is it really fair to compare when a webinar we post in January obviously has more time to season and get more visibility, and it's depending on how many times it's been shared, all those things matter. But definitely need to put a big focus on YouTube and making sure that you have those bite-sized pieces of content.
So let me ask a question. Well, I have two questions. I'll ask this one. I think it's a quicker answer, and then I'll ask my second question. Do we talk differently for each one of those platforms, or can we use the same message on all?
Your avatar is the same on all. Like if you're focused on,
You're speaking to the same person.
yes, then it can be the same. He says his stuff is repurposed on all of it.
Okay,
Like it's
cool.
the same stuff. LinkedIn is a little bit different strategy because it's not geared towards the millennials, but and the only reason why he did that talk, he said, was because it creates content. That's all of his talks now, is because he literally just has a camera that's on him 24/7. Same thing with Bradley. Ed Milet was hilarious when he told his story about social media. It was awesome. But he's like, if you just record what you do and record. What I would add to that is the motive behind stories. Stories, there's no strategy. It is getting people to like you because they're seeing behind the scenes type stuff. You're able to create some conversation. There's not really a strategy or motive behind it other than people that's where they usually find you when they're story surfing.
Yeah. So are they literally walking around like this? Hey, I was just thinking as I'm walking to this next meeting, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, these guys have camera crews that just follow them everywhere. Like it's a reality TV show and everything they do. And like even bloopers, which is hilarious. So
okay,
bloopers,
so for the average person, do we just go blah, blah, blah?
He said, if you would learn just not to care, because I was like, I literally did that in the airport. I'm like, how vain do I look right now? I'm talking in the airport like this. And I even had it set up. I'm like, I feel like I'm trying to be an influencer, and he's like, you just can't care about that.
Gary
Yeah.
Vee has said that though now I mean, when I went when he used to do a real estate and mortgage event, of course now, Agent 2021, I was like, all right, what was the name of the thing? What was the name of his event? I couldn't even remember. But when he did that event, he said, yeah, you should be recording all you do. And so at that point I would go home. I was coaching at the time, you can't share any information of a client, but I was like, all right, I'll just set up my camera over here on a separate phone, the old phone that I had, and I was recording. But my problem is I didn't have plug and play SM to filter through all the content. I think that's the hard part is then you have to remember, okay, well, where did you say something that might be smart so you can tell someone? Because that would be the first step in recording yourself is if you're in the mortgage or real estate business, is to set up an old phone. You all have one, right? I mean, I think I got like 17 old iPhones in drawers, and then just set it up as a recorder, stick it on a little tripod thing, and then hit record it when you're doing a buyer consultation, or when you're doing a listing presentation, or when you're just talking to clients, answering questions on the phone. And that's probably the place to start because, again, I don't think most of us feel like we can be followed 24/7, but I was able to spend I shouldn't say the day, I spent half a day at Gary Vee's office, maybe in 2018 is when it was. And it was a group of us. There's about 8 or 10 of us who got to have brunch with him. So I got to show up in his office, kind of hang out there while we waited for him. Then he came in and he was supposed to be in there for like 2 hours. He ended up spending 2.5 hours. His team was trying to get him out of there. Like he was like, oh, I got this. And literally, we had a guy in there recording the whole thing. And then there was a guy standing outside the window who would peep up every once in a while and record from outside. So they would have content. And then literally he went straight from our room, taking pictures of all of us, and walked into his office where you see all of his other videos and stuff that he does. And he was doing something with wine. I mean, literally he wasted no time, no prep. He was just in there drinking wine. It's right when he had launched Empathy Wines, his wine brand. And then you could see out in the area there was, probably, I think at that time he said he had almost 20 people helping him with his daily content. So you saw all the people, D-Rock and all of the other folks just standing out there working on his content. So none of us have that, but think about it. For me, Deborah's like, just do 4 or 5 pieces a day, and Deborah does one of them a day. So she makes me look like I'm doing more. And I struggle just to add 1 or 2 more. So if you could think about how to add on a couple of more, that would be certainly my recommendation.
I think that was the biggest thing that was missing from the conference is like then the how to, like, what is the strategy? What are the nuts and bolts? Like, what's the framework? I know the framework, and that's, and Michelle, you get my weekly emails too of, you start with a hook, go with problem solution, and it sounds so basic, but for some people, I mean, and I do classes all over the US where there's room full of real estate agents. And there's some that don't know how to even add a photo to Instagram, or they don't even have Instagram downloaded yet. So it could feel very overwhelming.
Come on, my mom can even do that.
You'd be surprised. I mean, depending on their age, it's like, I don't want to be that visible. Like they don't value it when it's a value issue. It's, Gary V had said it's almost selfish not to. Like, there's things that we're all learning and there's things that we all know. And if you're so worried about yourself and how you look and what other people are going to think, it's so selfish for the number of people who actually need what we know and how we can help people to not share it. So he's like, when
Yeah,
your
because if
motive,
they don't hear it from us, who will they hear it from? And will it be correct?
and he
Right. That's
said,
so big.
yeah, the number one search term on Google, because he said he was doing this search, and preparing for this talk, was young people and, 40, 50-year-olds. Everyone is worried about, if I buy a home today, is that the best investment? Because they're worried with all the economic news, and what they're hearing is, could it go down? So as much as they've always known it's been a good investment, they fear overpaying for something that's going to decrease in time. And so
Right.
he had asked the audience, are you prepared to show historical data? And do you have a slide deck ready? Do you have social media for social proof that's consistently flushing out those fears? Because those are valid concerns for people. So he's like, you've got to address it head on and from multiple different angles, because that's what's renting space in their head. And people are waiting and they're thinking maybe they could get a better deal if they wait. If values drop and if rates drop, maybe it's best to wait. So it's addressing those concerns. And Cole Hatter, he was probably my most surprised. Have y'all heard of Cole with Thrive? It's
Never
some
heard of
Thrive
Cole or Thrive.
consulting. He was probably my favorite speaker out of all of them. I mean, I thought what he shared, it was more real estate investing, which I'm, very curious about. And he has a conference coming up in November. I'm definitely going to attend, because out of all the speakers, I appreciated how he was also helping us get right in our business, and how maybe we should be advising our clients that if you're just buying real estate for a primary residence, you're losing so much potential net worth and ways of having multiple streams of income that we're not shouting enough about. So he had talked about, anytime there's chaos, there's always room for massive disruption, and the areas that he is focusing on and what he's telling his clients to focus on. And he did say, for the lenders in the room, we're not going to want to hear this, but the increase of creative financing with hard money and, shared capital, like, so he had said, let's see, he
So while
had
you look it
given
up, one
5.
thing. Oh, go ahead. You go.
Go
Now
ahead.
you got it. Nope.
The
Keep going.
He said the 3, so here were his 5 points. Learn how to devalue money. And we've got to teach people how to not get so emotionally attached to money, that we were taught in schools not to talk about it. He did give this whole thing about, you go to school to get and everybody said job, you need a W-2, you need to save money. He's like, we need to start talking about money sooner and not.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
people's money
learn.
stories are definitely holding back.
Yes.
So when
And
he
then he
says
said, number 2,
devalue it,
buy.
truly just means not be attached to it emotionally. So
Yeah,
'cause I
remove the
saw you
emotion.
post that and I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He said, people think going into debt is bad, when he was like, going to debt is a good thing when you're buying things. So he's like, don't go to, Neiman's or Nordstrom's and rack up a bunch of credit card debt. But the thought of having to pay everything off and having not, people just don't know how to leverage debt to earn more. So the second thing he said is buying cash producing assets. So the 3 things he's focusing on, because he said this is where you can capitalize. And this is what wealthy people do when there's recessions, is short-term rentals, multifamily apartment buildings, and storage buildings. And he said, because if there is a recession, which he said, we'll find out this Thursday, because they all meet on the 27th, and we'll find out if the second quarter, if the GDP was down again. If people are out of their jobs for 90 days, then people are most likely going to have to downsize, or they're going to have to sell, because they're going to need their equity. Not that there's going to be a lot of foreclosures or anything like that, but they're going to have to rent, and then they're going to have to put their stuff in storage buildings. So he said, now is the time to be as liquid as possible, because you could get good deals on strip centers and, apartment buildings. But his whole goal and what he tries to teach people is, instead of coming up with the next business idea or next business opportunity, learn how to create passive income. So you're just managing the money, not having to work for it. So he had a whole story of his all the multi-millions he's ever earned, and he seems very successful. But ultimately it's the freedom that everyone's after, emotional freedom and financial freedom, so that he can spend time with his family. And he has a baby on the way, and he almost died in a bad car accident. So he said, expand your network. So going to events like this outside of always your industry, so that you're rubbing elbows with not someone that can give you your next deal, but your next 100 deals.
That's what your sister told me her number one takeaway was, to attend more events that are not just mortgage, but more business, and that I can just think bigger. Those are the two things. And I would say that was really helpful for me. You know, I talked about it before. I spent 2 years with a group called the Genius Network, Joe Polish's group of entrepreneurs. And, you know, I pulled out of it because of COVID, and, you know, I just need to re-sign myself up. Now I say that out loud, make that commitment, because it was just hanging out with entrepreneurs, you know,
I'll text you and check on you.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the only reason I would do it differently is there's some other groups that people I know are joining. One of the things I think about a group like that is it does help when you know somebody else that's a friend that you can join with. So I joined that with Josh Metal, and he did it with me. And so that actually made it enjoyable, because we would go to meetings together, or I would go to different meetings and trade notes on it. And I think that that is always helpful. So I do have some other friends who are joining other entrepreneur groups. So maybe someone out there is listening and thinking, hey, I'm going to join this group. Let me know. Maybe that'll be the next group instead, or maybe I'll do two as we head into 2023.
Yeah. Cole's was great. He even showed like the national debt. His was much more scientific and economy based, and how we've got to be getting financial literacy out there. And he just was very in tune with and knows with land development and business deals. So I thought his was the most tactical and valuable. And he happens to have a mastermind group himself, which I'm looking into. And he has the Thrive event that's in November. So the last point he made was continue to invest in yourself, which I thought was a great takeaway that they all kind of hit on. And it could be, I follow Ed Milet and Brad Lee. So a lot of like Brad Lee, it was the same 6 points he always shares. And if you follow him on social, it was really no different. It was more comical than maybe value. Cole's was by far the best. And I do agree.
And you still want to marry Brad after that?
No, Cole's now, I mean, I like when my mind is,
Hey, you know,
I can have a few, right?
In Deborah's world, she could have a few, Todd. She doesn't
all
have
right.
to settle.
We are going downhill. All right. So it sounds like we're gonna have to go a few minutes over on my 30-minute time limit today. But so what other questions, Michelle, do you have that we want to make sure we get out of Deborah before we let her go?
So I'm just wondering, Deborah, like I have content on my YouTube channel, and I don't feel like I have, to me, it's like Todd's library. Like I have this content and it's sitting on the library, but if I don't get the book out and read it every so often, then it's just looks like decorations, right? And so I'm wondering, like with the shorts, if I wanted to revive some of content that's been stored, that's good content that I just really hadn't done anything with it, would shorts be the way to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
The short form vertical video content that then at the end, or even in your caption, you can then direct people to the longer video, which is the goal. It's just that's the entry point of the funnel, basically, to get people. It's the cheapest way to get the most amount of reach to drive people to the channel.
Okay.
And it's Google friendly. So when people are on Google and they're typing in like, business planner or success or planning or third quarter, fourth quarter, you want to be able to show up. So
well, and I think in our area, Texas happens to be a hot spot, as well as I do. There's just so many people moving here. So, through American Dream TV and stuff, I've got good content on there of things to do. And I'm wanting to bring that back to life as people are looking for things to do in North Texas, or they're considering moving to this area. So shorts would be a way to do that.
Yes. And if you're committed to doing at least one piece of content a day, that's the vertical video content. Remember, it can be one piece of content can go on Google My Business. It goes on your Instagram reel, Facebook reel. You then share the reel to your story. Don't download the reel and upload it separately to your story, because you want to get the views on your reels so that it keeps going out on the Explore page. You can add it to your shorts. So when you post a reel and it goes on, and it goes on your news feed, you want to then hit the share button to your story.
Okay. All right.
What I see too many people do is they will download it and then upload it to a story, Well, that cuts down on your views. And again, the more views you can get, then the more it's going to go out. Like, I mean, the one I did with GP just at the baseball game, he had 21,000 views in 30 minutes. And I'm like, some of y'all are still paying for ads, and I don't know why. I would not pay for ads.
Yeah.
Not. So then you can add it to YouTube Shorts, you can add it to TikTok, you can even add it to LinkedIn. It's like that one short piece of content, which could be for the leaders in this group, even you, Michelle, you can take your Win by Noon planner and go to the Win by Noon quote of the week. So you could look at either the Instagram or Facebook page of Win by Noon, and everybody on this call right now could take this quote, and it's life has no limitations except the ones you make.
Mhm.
That could easily, quickly be applied as a live of guys. Every Monday, I start my week, I plan it out, and I look at my Win by Noon weekly quote, and this is the quote, and this is what it means to me. I'd love to know what it means to you. Like, that's just one easy way to leverage other things that you're already using and doing to create content that shows leadership. And sometimes just showing your opinion and how you view things gives people more insight of you.
So good.
All right. So last question for you, Deborah, is what else didn't we ask you, or what else did you have as a big takeaway that you want to make sure we share?
I like that shirt, Todd, while she's looking.
Thank you. This is the 5th
That's it.
anniversary Win by Noon
Yeah.
limited edition shirt.
I like it.
Thank you.
I would say being intentional with why you're posting and making sure you're giving other, like creating your email database, like your email list. Every once in a while, you need to have a post to tell people to either click the link in the bio, or, because social media could go away. One platform may end up like Clubhouse. I don't know how many people are still on Clubhouse anymore. In fact, I had told Dave back in the day, I was like, Dave, I really think you should focus on TikTok, not Clubhouse. And he was like, no, TikTok's for the kids. And I'm like, I'm telling you, TikTok is where it's going to be. This was a couple years ago. But trends change, algorithms change. You need to own your database. The gold is in your database and how you're reaching them. And do you own it? And when you have a brand, my biggest takeaway was, and I thought of Tom Brady. People
Of course you did.
follow people follow
That's
athletes.
another husband.
Yeah, it is. People fall in love with the brand of Tom Brady, and Tom has been able to leverage his brand beyond just the team. So you can be a brand within your company, but build your brand and build your database, because that is where you can tell people, hey, go to this link and register, or go, to this event. And I just want to point out, Neil started last year. This was his first event he ever did. He had 75 people. So it just shows that if you're intentional, you're focused, you have a dream and a goal, the power of just 1 year. The second time he ever did it was this year, and he had 750 people there. So now I give him full credit. He's an action taker. I mean, he would just reach out to people, and he did it through social. He said every ticket he sold was through social media by DMing. It goes down in the DMs. It's not he shares reels through the DMs to get more views. He's constantly doing that. His team is constantly doing that for him. Gary Vee said the same thing. You've got to build a community, and you've got to be the one engaging and messaging to help spread the word. But, don't forget to put people in a database and email market to them, or at least have that info, because if they disappear,
Yeah,
then,
that's
or like
the jab.
my business account, my first business account for Plug and Play, because I didn't set up my two-way verification, got hacked, and I lost all of my following, all of the posts. I don't even know if you search, I don't even think it shows up now, but the hashtags, like I reported, I spent 3 months fighting, trying to get it back, which is why my Instagram handle now is Plug and Play _SM, because it used to just be Plug and Play SM. So you don't own it. I mean, hackers are really smart. They could take it. So set yourself up for success. There is a recession coming. What are you going to do to recession proof your business? Where's the opportunities in the chaos? Where could your next relationship or next meeting, how could you get to the next 100 people through one person instead of going just, shotgun? He's like, don't shotgun it. Be a rifle. Be intentional.
All right, I like that. So I got 2 quotes I'm going to leave with, and then so one is a Darren Hardy quote. He says, "You don't have to be do extraordinary things. You just need to do ordinary things extraordinarily well." Again, we always think we've got to be great, and I don't think we need to be great. We just need to do the ordinary things we do, but do them really well. That's why you have the clients you have and the relationships that you have. And then I always say you got to take action, right? So I'm not sure who said this, but maybe it was even me, but I just made a note that knowledge isn't the gap. Doing is the gap, right? Now we know now we know what we should do because Deborah just laid it out. And now we just actually have to figure out how can we take action, or who do we know that can help us, or who do we know that we can hire to help us take that action and take it to the next step. So we'll definitely have to have you back, Michelle Castle. It was so fun to have you in our community.
Love it. Love it. Anytime.
All right. Thank you. And then thank you, Deborah, always for showing up here. And especially today, let me put you on the spot and sharing value. We will be back next week, same time, same place, and look forward to seeing you all here. Appreciate you.
Bye.